We are the world's first and #1 mobile dog gym service. We're overworking their body and underworking their brain, right? I took a job in the super sexy world of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical sales. And I always joke that there's not enough wet noses and wiggling butts. And then I quit my cushy corporate sales job to dive all in to running dogs. And I always joke that shelter dogs get the best dog gym experience because there's zero expectation. You can let them have that big emotional reaction, and all the while, their body's changing chemically, right? Their movement's medicine. So they're
narrating the dog's life, and they're wondering why they're perpetuating the behavior of the dog.
The fact that people will pay money to work with the trainer, do nothing that the trainer told them to do, and then act as if the trainer was the reason they didn't have success. I do not want to sit and watch my dog waste away for 4 years. Even if it means 4 more years with them, that dog is so far removed from the dog that I fell in love with. And, it doesn't mean the dog's any less worthy of love, but it's heartbreaking to see a dog that is just alive and not thriving. And so in seeing those results and seeing the difference in confidence and in just overall behavior and mobility, I was like, I need to do this.
Like you said, it's long days, and if someone's just not feeling emotionally there, it's better that they call out than they have to deal with.
We do not need anyone's business that bad that any of our coaches need to be talked down to or belittled or disrespected in any way. So
all right, guys, this is one I'll tell you the truth, I've been excited about for a while. And in the dog training space as a whole, there are businesses that pop up in kind of niche spaces that kind of pique curiosity for me. I love the ins and outs of business, learning, kind of how it runs, how they attract customers, how they got started. And one of those businesses is a mobile gym called Run Buddy Mobile. So I actually reached out to them 2 years ago when I was doing mobile grooming, just to learn, kind of the mobile side of dog service. And some of you guys listening might be in mobile service. So really awesome episode. Stay for the whole thing. I think we're going to talk about the business side of mobile service, mobile grooming, mobile dog gyms. We'll talk a little bit about the dog training industry from Brandon's perspective and everything in between. So without further ado, Brandon, can you introduce yourself and Run Buddy Mobile, please?
Well, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm Brandon with Run Buddy Mobile. We are the world's first and #1 mobile dog gym service. Been operating in the Phoenix area for over 8.5 years now. Started with my mentor and a good friend of mine, David Lopez. He found that not only were dogs surrendered and abandoned and rehomed for behavioral issues that stemmed from lack of exercise, but also just as a whole, lack of biologically fulfilling exercise, right? So many people, they have a dog and they might even know what they're signing up for when they bring that dog home. They know they're going to have an active dog and they live an active life and they do all these things, but they still find themselves running into the same behavioral concerns, the same, undesirable things that make life a little bit difficult around the house. And it's not because their dog's not getting enough exercise. It's because we're overworking their body and underworking their brain, right? I think on a previous episode, I heard you talking about, just conditioning this machine that just keeps going longer and harder, and you can't get a hold on it. And so many people find themselves in that situation. And the Slat Mill is a remarkable tool for helping provide that biologically fulfilling outlet. So started with a trailer behind a Subaru, and that grew into a fleet of 7 dog gyms in the Phoenix area. And then I was a client for that first year, and then I quit my cushy corporate sales job to dive all in to running dogs. And, about 2 years ago, moved from Phoenix to the Austin area because it was a no-brainer that the Austin market was going to be a great place for us to go. And about a year's worth of delays. All of our treadmills, that I have in the dog gym are completely custom. Used the best equipment on the market for the first 6-7 years, 6-7. Sorry, that's going to be clippable, I think. But first 6-7 years, there were all these things that we were running into maintenance wise on the treadmills, right? And so many people, when we gained popularity on social media, would reach out and ask questions just like you have, right? Like, how do you do this? How do you go about it? And at the time, the goal was to build Run Buddy to something that could be franchised and could be made available to people who want to do the work that we do so they can learn the details of it and go out and succeed in doing it on their own. And so part of that was the treadmill maintenance. That took up so much time. David and I, on Sundays, that was the one day that we weren't out running dogs, I would do a deep clean of all the vans and we would do treadmill maintenance. And so we realized that one thing that may get in the way of other people's dog gyms succeeding is all of these headaches that we were running into, having to fix on the fly. And we were like, well, if we can make the treadmills bulletproof, then people can focus on the work that we do, the running dogs and helping people, helping these dogs, and not have to worry about being a treadmill technician. So that year's worth of delays was well worth it because, I mean, I joke with David that I have the best dog gym on earth because it's leaps and bounds beyond where we started, and we're so proud of it. So been operating in the Austin area for coming up on a year now, and have a good number of shelter and rescue partners here because that's truly the backbone of Run Buddy Mobile. People see the videos and we have a lot of fun, and that's kind of icing on the cake. The real work is the work that takes place with the dogs and the results that we're able to deliver. And the backbone of that is our shelter and rescue work, right? Like I mentioned, that's where David started. I always joke that shelter dogs get the best dog gym experience because there's zero expectation.
Sure.
When somebody books the service for their dog and they want to try it, right? We show up, sometimes that first 30-minute session, not a lot happens. That doesn't mean that nothing's going on in that 30 minutes, right? We're getting a read on the dog. We're getting an idea of what it's going to take to get them properly acclimated to the slat mill. And oftentimes, if a dog struggles with that part of the process, that's a symptom of something underlying. That dog needs, it's at the end of the day, as crazy and novel as treadmills for dogs in a van at your doorstep is, at the end of the day, it's running and walking. You're taking this dog and you're putting them in a new environment, new set of circumstances, but I'm not teaching the dogs to do anything they don't already know how to do. They know how to walk. They know how to run. So it's just a matter of them recognizing, oh, instead of running and walking out there, I do it right here. And you see the wheels turning. And so many dogs that people think would hit the mill running, right? They book and they're like, oh, we booked for Jack because he's a lunatic. He runs circles around the yard. He loves to run. Jill, we'll try it, but she's probably not going to do anything. Like, she's scared of her own shadow. And those dogs get in the dog gym. And Jack, who wants to zig and zag and go every which way, I'm now telling him, hey, buddy, straight line for 30 minutes. He's like, what? Like the mental load that he's taken on just having to focus in a straight line. Meanwhile, Jill, all that nervous, anxious energy, she puts it right to the treadmill, works through it, right? So with the shelter dogs, if a dog comes into the dog gym and they hesitate to even get in the van, they hesitate getting up on the mill, maybe they don't like being handled by some mustached weirdo, right? Like, each dog is going to come to us with a different starting point. We're going to work on that. And the dog doesn't have to be my best friend. They don't have to kiss on me and love on me. I don't have to love and kiss on them. We got a job to do, and we're gonna do that, right? So if that shelter dog comes in and hangs out for 10, 15 minutes, doesn't really do much, if someone were paying for that session for their dog and they saw the videos, tails wagging, tongues dragging, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it. And their dog sits on the treadmill for 10 minutes, they're gonna be like, I don't know if I'm gonna spend money on that again, right? And I always tell people, like, I wear the blue polo, I drive the mystery machine. Of course, you're going to expect me to say, no, keep booking. Come on, keep spending money with me. I don't say it as the business owner. I say it as someone who's had tens of thousands of dogs step into my office, and the difference between progress and results and absolutely nothing, is consistency, right? So those shelter dogs, if that dog doesn't get adopted by next week, guess what? They're going to see Uncle Brandon again. And we're going to try it again. And we're going to know where we started. And we're going to build on it. And 2-3 sessions in, those dogs go from hesitating to getting into the van to dragging volunteers out the door to the dog gym. They get on their mill and they run like the wind. And if that were a paying customer who didn't like how the first session went, we were 3 inches from gold. All that dog needed, that shelter dog just needed another opportunity to prove themselves. And so many people get in the way of their dogs. So with the shelter dogs, that's why they get, the best experience, because there's no one getting in their way. No one's saying, oh, I don't know if he likes it. It's like, hey, we're going to keep trying it because we know that this dog needs it. The dog doesn't know that they need it, right? And so
let the results take care of themselves through the process.
Absolutely.
And guys, I knew this was going to be a good one. That's why I kind of wanted to give Brandon the Slat Mill for 5-6 minutes just to kind of get explain the use case, explain the value, because to the naked eye, if you're just following Run Buddy Mobile, you just think dogs running on treadmill, but there's so much more. One of the things that Brandon said was, and I want to touch on it, is cognitive load. You're thinking the physical aspect of the dog running, but think about it for a dog, the focus, the mental aspect, the brain working, right? So we oftentimes think of this concept of fulfillment for dogs, and Jay Jack talks about the layered stress model, right? And that layer after health, and the Slat Mills and exercise helps with health. Right. Mental health and physical health, both. And then you have fulfillment, mental fulfillment, the opportunity to work at a task, to do a job, right? And that's not seen in a 30-second, 45-second clip where Brandon, who's hilarious, his content is amazing. It's Run Buddy Austin on Instagram. I highly recommend you guys follow. But the mental load, and I want this podcast, this interview, this conversation to be 3 parts. So I do want to talk about the business side.
Yeah, of course.
And I do want to hear Brandon's origin story, like how he decided to leave his corporate job to get into this. But I do want to talk about the behavior modification side, the training aspect that people might not even realize happens. So what do you see with aggressive, reactive dogs that sign up for the service? What happens to them?
So again, best examples that we see of the reactivity and like true, genuine aggression. Because the average dog owner is going to throw around that word aggressive, right? And until they consult with a professional who actually knows what it is they're talking about, so a lot of people come to us and say, oh yeah, I have an aggressive dog, when really they have an insecure dog. They have just a dog that people love their dogs, right? I'm going to kind of sidetrack myself here. It's probably going to happen a lot over the course of this interview, but I always say there's dog owners, dog lovers, and dog people, right? Dog owners, it's a box you check, right? Oh, we graduated, we got engaged, we bought the house, we're getting the dog, and as long as that dog isn't eating our furniture or like mauling the neighbor's kids, we're doing a good job, right? Just checking a box. Dog lovers, oftentimes those people don't even have a dog of their own. They're the ones who come up to you in public and are like, oh my God, a dog. They like can't control themselves. And you're like, hey, my dog might be cool, but I might bite you. Like, I'm not liking this approach, right? And then there's dog people. And the dog people are the ones who they make eye contact with you. They address you. They don't address the dog. And maybe they make a comment or they give you a nod, like, oh, I see you working, right? You're doing some training or whatever. And so you get a lot of dog lovers and a lot of dog owners who have a real one-dimensional view of what dog ownership is, right? So going back to the reactivity and whatnot, get a lot of dogs at the shelter, right? Shelter environment, there's no avoiding those triggers, right? And I'm immensely grateful for my shelter partners here in the Austin area. I work throughout the week with Central Texas SPCA. They're a smaller organization. Austin Humane Society, Austin Pets Alive, and the Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter. And we joke, when I first came to town, on the business development side of things, right? Reaching out to these partners saying, hey, we've worked with dozens of shelters and rescues in the Phoenix area over the last 8 years. Here's what we do, whatever. They'll all tell you, when I first reached out, they were like, who is this guy? What is he talking about? And they still think I'm crazy, but they know that I'm honest and that I deliver the results that I promise, right? And so at this point, I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to work with the dogs in their care. But not only that, the level of trust that they have with me, with those dogs, to at first where it was maybe like, okay, this dog is going to be a solo dog. We just want them in there by themselves. We don't want them around any other dogs. Then that dog gets comfortable in the dog gym and we're like, all right, you know what? Let's start bringing in other dogs. Or even without doing that first little trial run, they're like, hey, we'd really like to see, yesterday, for example, or Friday, long stay dog at Williamson County. His name's Atlas. Volunteers just recently got comfortable bringing him out to the dog gym. And this week, one of the volunteers said, I'd love to see how he does with another dog. And I was like, hey, if you will allow that, let's do it. So we brought in this other dog, Louie, who can be a bit reactive as well. Louie gets on the mill. They're facing each other. And Atlas, he picks up the pace, right? He's like, ooh, let me at him. And he loses his rhythm at first because he was going consistently, but then he's supercharged seeing this trigger, right? So he starts kind of scrambling like, oh my goodness, let me at him, let me at him. Well, in time, you can only go so hard, so fast for so long before you need to focus on your footwork again, right? Because with the Slat Mill being completely non-motorized, the dog's dictating the pace. And if they get themselves going too fast, it's on them to bring it back. And sometimes they blow a tire and have to interrupt that fixation to be like, oh, what the hell just happened? Shake it off and then get back to it. Or they just gradually dial back their pace. All the while, they're working through those big emotions, right? So in the shelter environment, you've got dogs who lack a foundation of obedience and any sort of training, right? Volunteers and staff, they do the best that they can, but you've got so many moving parts, so much change going on. It's hard to be consistent, right? So if you have a reactive dog and you're trying to take them out to the play yard and you're crossing paths with another dog, what are you going to do in that situation? In most cases, you're going to swing wide. You're going to actively try to avoid that trigger. The dog's already locked in. They're losing their mind. You're throwing treats at them. You're trying to get their attention. It's not going to be productive, right? It's unavoidable. And so being able to take those dogs who, if you put them in a room the size of the dog gym, they would actively be trying to get to each other and get to each other and get to each other. And maybe they'll get tired and chill out, but the moment one of them moves, it's back on, right? Well, in the dog gym, still in close quarters, working through that rather than trying to get them to sit still or hold them back, you can let them have that big emotional reaction. And all the while, their body's changing chemically, right? Their movement's medicine. So they're starting to feel good. Now they're building a positive association between that endorphin rush that they feel and being in close quarters with another dog. And they're realizing that dog can't get to me. I can't get to him. He's not a threat. I huff and puff and do as I wish. I'm still not going to be able to get to him. So it's not worth it.
And you know what's so powerful about that, Brandon, is that they get to that answer on their own.
Exactly. And there's no need for a correction. There's no need for me to intervene. Like, I can allow them to work through it, because I think a lot of what I'm hearing these days in the training space, because I tell people that I'm not a dog trainer. I train dogs to do one thing really well, but I'm not a dog trainer. But I hear a lot of trainers recently talking about clarity, right? And if you and a dog are not speaking the same language, it is difficult to provide that clarity. Well, I'm not having to speak a language with the dog. I'm letting them work through things, like you said, on their own. And they can come to that. Now, are those dogs going to be best friends the moment they get off the mill? Absolutely not. But they then learn that, yeah, I can see another dog without having to have that big eruption and emotional response. And
And
then
maybe
all
the
of those
eruption,
interruptions.
and Brandon, maybe the eruption's like 5 minutes the first time, three
Right.
minutes the next
Yep.
time. And forget like even like how you introduce dogs down the road and make them
Yeah.
best friends. That's a secondary thing, is they get a lot more understanding of their emotional system. They
Right.
learn how to control it more. And then Brandon could come in when that dog kind of self-regulated, so to speak, and just come in and give it some love.
Yep.
So that was awesome, man. That was really good how you processed through that. And now you give it emotional clarity.
Yep.
Do you still need to teach the dog commands? Sure.
Yeah,
But if
absolutely.
you have a good emotional balance, and I bet you see the dogs get that balance a lot faster the more you see them.
Oh, yeah. And that's, from the business side of things, right? Because it's funny, I come from a sales background, right?
Yeah.
And I'll meet people and get to talking to them, and
A
they're like,
service
oh,
background.
what was that?
A service background.
Yeah. And I get people that are like, oh, your personality, Brandon, like you'd be really good in sales. And I'm like, I convince people to allow them to share their baby, their best friend, their child with me on a weekly recurring basis, doing something that most people at a glance think is this silly novel thing. Like there's a lot of sales side of things that goes into that, and I hate looking like wording it like that, because really all it is education. It's helping people understand that, yeah, this silly thing that sometimes my mom may have a hard time explaining to people who ask what her oldest son does for a living, like it is not as silly and goofy and novel as it looks at a glance, because the results are real. I don't get, not being a trainer, I don't get caught up in different models and vocab words and, like I'm just doing the work. And so, I don't even know where I was going. Oh, yeah, it's the education side of things and getting people to understand what it is that's going on with their dog in the dog gym. Because, yeah, some people think of it as, oh, the name's Run Buddy, right? Run/Walk Buddy Mobile doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same, not quite as marketable. But it doesn't mean that dogs who just walk in the dog gym are getting any less value from their 30 minutes. The goal isn't to get as many steps as we can in 30 minutes. It's to make as much progress as we can, session over session. And like you said, each time that emotional outburst for a reactive dog, that timeline gets shorter and shorter until it gets to the point where that dog doesn't care that there's other dogs in the dog gym, right? They're just excited to go in there, and that's their weekly routine. And so you get a lot of people who book one session, and if you don't educate them in that first session, because back in Phoenix, when I would train new coaches, I would say, you can't guarantee that everyone who books a session is going to be a Run Buddy client for life. But the fact that they booked one session, they're open to the idea of the service. Now it's on us to educate them on the true value of the work that we do and the results that come with consistency. Because most of my clients are on a weekly recurring schedule, most once a week, some dogs, depending on the case, twice a week. And those dogs that their owners commit to that consistency, think if you worked with a personal trainer and that trainer said, maybe see you next week, maybe not. After a month, don't be surprised when you don't see results, because you haven't been consistent. You haven't, maybe each time you show up, you're starting from square one again. But if you can, do one session after the other, even if it's just for a month, to get consistent with it, and then you drop off, and then we'll see you as needed, that's going to be so much more beneficial than trying it once and saying, oh, okay, like that went well, I guess, yeah, we could do this every now and then. Like,
Can you
almost
explain
like
can you explain the benefits of, because so the consistencies for the dog, as much for the owner, but for the dog as well, to build that routine, to understand like the kind of the program and hit it from the ground from the first step, and like not hit it with full sprint, but like understand
right.
why it's here. Why a slat mill versus a traditional, what people think of as a treadmill?
it's that physical and mental balance and the full autonomy that comes with the slat mill. I think traditional treadmills are a very great and useful tool. It's just serves a different purpose than the slat mill does. And it's one of those things where both can be used in certain scenarios. But when it comes to the results that Run Buddy delivers, as far as, some dogs getting in the dog gym is 75% mental and 25% physical, right? But having that autonomy to dictate their pace, to, dial in, oh, I can stop, I can start, like that is so helpful for the dog's mental well-being. And it's something that you don't quite get with a motorized treadmill. Again, it can be a great tool.
It's the dog learns that they have control of, like, they have agency over their life,
right?
Agency over how they move through things.
Yeah, and you can see the wheels kind of turning in each dog's head, because, dog to dog, every dog's unique, right? But when they come into my office, they fall into a handful of different categories, right? And there's a lot of breed-specific things that we observe. For example, huskies, right? People would think, oh, sled dogs, they're going to run like lunatics. Huskies get in the dog gym, and 9 times out of 10, they are so in their head that they spend 20 minutes just figuring out how to use the slat mill.
Like every step is like so careful.
Very calculated and rigid. And like, if you saw that dog walking like that outside of the dog gym, like in a field, you'd be like, did they get into the bleach? Is everything okay? Like, but think about most huskies, their brains are always going. And so to be able to put that dog in a position where it's a safe, controlled environment, they are not at risk, but their world suddenly gets smaller. And that dog is having to take all that, like I said before, that energy that wants to zig and zag and go every which way. Now the only thing they're worried about is figuring out what the hell is going on here, right? Or livestock guardian breeds. If I get a Great Pyrenees in the dog gym, chances are I'm putting them on the mill and I'm going to ignore them for a good 10, 15 minutes. And I'm talking to the owners and they're looking at me, looking at the dog, looking at me like, hey, aren't you going to do something here? Like, I'm like, the more I push, like I just posted a 5-minute video today. I like sharing some longer form stuff so people can like see the process, right? And there's a dog who's just sitting on the mill, and I let him, you see over the course of 5 minutes, him work through those things and find his rhythm and go from sitting at the back of the mill to finding a nice steady groove. By the end of that session, he was sprinting like a lunatic. And if you were to sit there with a Great Pyrenees and you have toys and you have treats and you're in his face, come here, buddy, dog's not going to do anything. He's going to sit. It's going to take us steps backwards instead of any forward progress, right? So you let that livestock guardian breed brain work, and they survey the landscape and they figure out what in the world's going on. And then when they realize, okay, there's nothing for me to do standing here, then they start putting one foot in front of the other, and they're just working. And that dog's not going to sprint like a lunatic, but they're focused. They're putting one foot in front of the other. The other thing with our slat mills is they're always set at an incline. So that engages their rear legs in a way flat ground walking doesn't. So you get your large and giant breed XL dogs, breeds prone to hip dysplasia and things like that. I don't care if the dog's going at a glacial pace. They're going uphill for 30 minutes. We're shifting some of the weight off those front legs that carry so much of the load when they're walking on flat ground. And it's like with people, you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you get these dogs who, maybe the videos aren't as fun and impressive to watch, but that doesn't mean the dog's getting any less out of that 30-minute experience. In fact, they may be getting even more than a dog who just mindlessly jumps up on the mill and runs like a lunatic for 30 minutes.
Is that typically Mal's? Is Malinois typically the ones that go nuts?
I'd say the breeds that often take to it the quickest are gonna be, your shepherds, your Mals, pending genetics, right? You get a lot of kind of weirdos, a lot of nervy shepherds and stuff, real insecure shepherds that, oh my God, what in the world's going on? It takes a little while for them to reel it in versus like a confident sport dog who comes in, even if they haven't been on a slat mill before, like there is a distinct difference when you load up a dog, regardless of breed, that has, you know, a solid foundation when it comes to training. So those dogs, a bit more bold, a bit more confident, they take to it pretty quickly. Pitties, I mean, any sort of, and I'm one to make a firm distinction between your pitties and your bully mutts. Pitties more so than bully mutts, like a true, like, pity, like they're gonna get to ripping in no time flat. Your bully mutt's often a little bit more dopey and like nervous. But yeah, I would say the dogs that you would expect to run, or like labs, lot of labs, lot of I'm a sucker for a bird dog. Pointers, I've got a lot of pointers over the years that they just rip. But you'll also get plenty of dogs that surprise you. And I think that's the thing. The slat mill for years has been so popular in the sport dog community and the working dog community. And so you grow to expect those sorts of dogs, and they, like we said, tend to take to it a little bit quicker. So I'll get trainers that reach out to me when they see a video of like a Pekingese, and they're like, how in the world did you get that dog? And so much of it, like your little terriers, like a Yorkie, dude, people see the Yorkies as they forget they're a terrier. And so that terrier gets on the treadmill and they're able to act like a terrier. I've got a deaf Boston Terrier that I'm working with right now.
Dude, deaf dogs are cool, right?
Oh, deaf dogs are so fun. It's interesting, like reminding yourself constantly that that dog is deaf. I'll catch myself and I'm like, oh, you're so lucky you can't hear me right now. Like, I'm so annoying. But yeah, this little guy, Charlie, super reactive. Walks were, you know, a bit of a nightmare for everyone involved. And mom was like, I don't want to keep him cooped up and not get, because I mean, good on her for recognizing that, because how many people keep their dog in their fishbowl, and as long as the dog's not causing any issues in their typical environment, they're like, oh yeah, he's fine. But then that dog has to go to the vet or inevitably go out in public at some point, and it's a nightmare. And it's like, well, hey, do we want that to be our baseline? Do we want, we can recognize that our dog maybe behaves this way, but is that the state we want our dog to be in? Do we want our dog to be terrified every time they go out of their fishbowl? Like, so first few sessions were pretty uneventful, right? But we made progress every session. We'd get a few more steps, a little more consistency. About 5 weeks in to our twice weekly sessions, you know, we're 10 sessions in. That 11th session, he hit the mill and sprinted for 30 straight minutes. And I got a toy out, and if I ever get a toy out with a dog on the mill, like, I'm not gonna just frustrate the hell out of the dog and not let him get the toy, right? So I let him get it. And I saw this side of him that I hadn't seen for the past 5 weeks, this true just terrier, right? And we're playing tug, and I drop the toy, and he's like bringing it to me like, no, dude, this game's fun when it's the two of us. Playing with him, and I mean, tell him to drop it. He doesn't hear a word I'm saying, right? But we're playing, and like, mom, the look on her face when she saw him running like that, because in addition to his, you know, reactivity and whatnot, he's got some rear end mobility issues, some, you know, lack in proprioception back there. And to see him run like that, she was like, even if I have him playing he doesn't run around like that. Like, it's so cool to see that with that little bit of consistency, we took him from standing on the mill, kind of scared, like, what the hell's going on here, to boldly coming out, getting on the mill, running like a lunatic, and tapping into that, you know, terrier tenacity. And
it's cool to see dogs break through like that, isn't it? Like,
right.
Those moments, I bet that's what you live for.
Oh, dude, it's the absolute best. And to see like the light bulb moment with an owner who is like, oh, wow, like this really is what Brandon said it was going to be. We just had to stay the course and see it through, right?
Do you invite the owners to watch sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because when I was a coach for Run Buddy, or when I was a client for Run Buddy rather, I had no idea that people didn't sit in on every session. Like, believe it or not, I loved sitting and talking to the coach for 30 minutes. Shocker, I know. But I would just sit there and talk to them and watch my dogs. And it was like the highlight of my week as well. Right. And then when I started as a coach, I realized like, oh, there are people who just, I had a client back in Phoenix. I ran his dog for 5 straight years. I did not meet him once until the very last time. And I came around the front of the van and I saw him and I about wet myself because I was used to just showing up, walking in. He had a Newfie named Danica. And I'd go in and I'd get Danica, I'd bring her out, and I was so startled by him. And I was like, oh my God, like so nice to finally meet you. Because he was always just at work and I'd go and I'd grab her, whatever. But yeah, there was a woman in Phoenix who had 4 dogs, and each of them was like a different case study for Run Buddy, right? We had a senior dog just working on maintaining mobility, a young dog who just needed to work through, some excess energy. I think she had a dog that was recovering from surgery, like a TPLO or something, and then she had like a real nervous shutdown dog. And I was like, oh, it's so cool how in the same 30 minutes, all 4 dogs are able to get what they need out of it. She's like, Brandon, that's cool and all. She's like, honestly, if the dog sat here and didn't do anything, I'd still have you coming out. I just like having someone to talk to for 30 minutes. And she's like, this is way cheaper than therapy. And so I was like, oh, like, yeah, right on, lady. But yeah, I love having people in when people have guests in town and they want to check it out. Like the more the merrier. I love getting people in the dog gym, educating them on what we do. A lot of like the grandparents, like the dog grandparents are always like, oh, I don't know if he likes it. Are you sure he likes it? He looks so scared or whatever. Why are you making him run? And then, they come hang out and they see it in person and they watch the dog do it. And they're like, oh, wow, this wasn't what I thought it was off of a 30-second video that my daughter sent me.
Can I guess, I don't know if it's a question or a statement. It's kind of one of those that's a combination.
Yeah.
The patience you have to have both for the people and for the dogs, but in different. Like the dogs, that if we stick with it, you're going to have a breakthrough. And I love you. I believe in you. You can kind of like compartmentalize that patience. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, I don't want to say for me, but like for me as a younger trainer, the patience part with humans was I couldn't deal with selfishness. How they made everything about themselves. Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh, and yeah.
Why do you get this dog if you make everything about yourself, right? Yeah. Talk to me. Is that just an innate thing? Did your years of sales really help you? Talk me through that. I don't know how to really word that question, but I see a lot of patience and grace and kindness in you.
I think the best way to answer that is to say that there is nothing I've ever believed in more than I believe in the work that we do at Run Buddy. And nobody has the level of experience that we have. No one has the history of the work that we've done over the years. And to me, I'm always open to learning more. I don't think I have everything figured out. I'm always looking to learn from people who have more experience. And so when an owner who doesn't have the experience, they may just be a dog owner or a dog lover, when they don't fully grasp the nature of the work that we do, it's in no way a reflection of me. And so I really take things personally a lot, but I'm so secure in the work that we do at Run Buddy that I don't take it personally. I understand that it's a reflection of someone else's lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, and it's nothing wrong with them. It's not that they're a bad person. It's just that when it comes to maybe how we relate to dogs or why we have a dog, we may be coming from 2 different places. But I know, like I said before, if somebody is willing to book a session, that there's at least an opportunity what that tells me is that they're not the type of person who looks at the dog gym and says, I'd never spend money on that. Can you believe people do this? Couldn't be me. Like, at least they booked a session. And so all I can do is provide them with my knowledge, my expertise, my understanding, communicate that to them in the way that best suits that person, the personality, what they're giving me, how our interaction has been going. It's really all I can do. And whether or not that person takes that information and decides to shift their perspective and change maybe how they approach certain things, like whether or not they do that has nothing to do with me. So every person, regardless of their personality or, their understanding of the work that we do, like I meet them with the same excitement and the same enthusiasm and the same willingness to connect and educate and inform. And what they do with that information and whether or not they book again, like I don't allow myself to take it personally. And I've found that kind of reduces that load of like, oh, like I used to take it so personal, right? If the person didn't understand what we do, like it was a reflection of who I am. Oh, maybe I'm full of it. Maybe I'm not as skilled and talented as I seem to think I am. But day in and day out, I am reminded by the people who do value and appreciate our work that we're doing a damn good job and we're going to continue to do it. And the more I let other people's, especially online, like I think more frustrating than dealing with difficult owners is dealing with people online. Golly.
What do they
Like,
say?
People will reduce a 45-second clip down to anything from a political attack. They make it like one party versus the other, as if like only one side would utilize such a service. Other people will comment on the behavior of the dogs with whom I work. I've got a video that went crazy a little while back. Put my 360 camera on this shepherd that I run, Kalo. His owners, incredible trainers. They're really good at the work that they do. And Kalo he's a cool dog. Like if there ever were a dog that I would drive off from a session with, like it would be him. He's so cool. And he's just so excited and ready to work.
Is this where he runs out the front door and jumps
Oh,
into
yeah.
the...
Yep.
People didn't like that?
No, man, because he's barking. God forbid a dog express excitement like a dog. And people are like, that dog needs to shut up. Someone shoot that dog. That dog needs training. All these different comments. And I'm like, and when it's coming from like just some random person online, I don't let it bother me. Like what bothers me is the fact that people think like that and are so quick to comment on something they clearly don't understand. But like when trainers will comment and it's like, hey, you can see, most trainers are great. Like any trainer who's, got experience sees our work and is like, oh, this is so rad. But then you get other people who maybe they have a different philosophy or whatever.
Is it the neutrality philosophy that dogs can't be happy and they can't express their emotions?
It's this, I'd say it's in that vein. It's trainers who claim to deliver calm dogs and value calm over anything else, which calm has its place. A dog needs to be calm, but to expect calmness without providing an outlet for that dog to reach a calm state of mind, well, then that's just suppression.
Yeah.
And that's in no way a reflection of a dog's training or obedience. It's a reflection of the fact that the dog's learned that, well, shit, I can't be a dog. I'm going to get, the herding breed dog that gets yelled at for herding the children or digging or barking, but isn't given an outlet to act like a herding breed dog. Yeah, that dog's going to be a chill, lazy dog. The dog's really depressed because the dog realizes, if every time you opened your mouth, someone told you to shut up, you'd stop talking eventually, right? And so...
you know where I think that starts from, Brandon?
Where?
I think that starts from our schools.
Yeah.
I think it starts from... I always think about this. Like, I'm 35. How old are you?
Just turned 30.
30. Remember, like, they would sit us in those desks in like the aisle in like rows, and school would go from like 8 to 4 or 7 to 3. But then there were these kids, right? Like they're just naturally active, or their mind is racing. They might not be athletic, but they have an active personality, and they are suppressed for 6, 7 hours, and they have no outlet to. Hey, maybe we just start the day with like a walk, and we do the first class out in nature, right?
Yeah.
And I always thought about that. I was like, is this really the best way to learn, right? So yeah, you want these kids to follow rules and understand discipline, structure. That no question, that's important. But is not giving them an outlet for it, and then like kind of like condition them to 6, 7, 8 hours of neutrality and calm, and then being upset when like kids like throw pencils into the ceiling or pass notes or try to find little ways to express themselves, and then like, you know, no.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was like, is that really the best?
Yeah, it's crazy because I think we apply so many things from just people, right? And how we've been expected to behave, and we push that onto our dogs, right? I think people would be surprised if they saw what a lot of maybe these dogs that they see online where the trainer is showing how obedient they are. I think people would be blown away to see that dog when they're acting like a dog. That dog's not always on. That dog's not always in a militant heel. That dog behaves like that because they are given an opportunity to behave like a dog, and you find that balance, right? And so many people want a dog that is just an accessory and is, you know, they want to be able to take it to the coffee shop and have it sit there and do nothing. They want to be able to take it to all these places. I see it a lot in Austin, you know, downtown, or, you know, the trails, the markets, whatever. You see people who say, I drive by in the dog gym, right? And they look at it and they're like, why would I do that? Like, my dog, I'm out doing this, I'm on the trails. And you watch their dog on the trails and the dog's miserable. The dog is not in a good state of mind. So like, good on you for getting them out and getting them moving. But like, that dog is moving in fear the entire time. Like, do you want a dog that you take everywhere and do everything with against the dog's will? Or do you want the dog to be comfortable and confident out doing those things, right? And so people think like, oh, if I'm taking them out and they're not barking and lunging at everything, like, oh, we're good, you know, my dog's good. But it's like, yeah, your dog's terrified to be there and they're cowering, you know, and they're not lunging at anyone. Sure, great, but they're miserable the entire time you have them out. Like, there's a huge disconnect between understanding our dog's needs and fulfilling those needs with what we expect from them as like part of our lifestyle.
And you get to see it on the front lines, right? Like, you go to people's homes, you see, I mean, you see everything really from the moment that dog comes out the door, you meet the owner, you see the owner's eyes, their emotional state, what they are saying, what they're not saying, you know. You go to the door and the dog is barking and the owner is probably shouting at that dog, but the dog ignores it. And like, I remember doing mobile grooming.
Yeah,
man, you're like a part-time therapist for these people, and they unload like all of their daily issues onto you in like 13 seconds. Both issues that they have with the dog, and they like think you could like fix them in 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Also, like, oh, I always have to do this. My spouse never does this. And that one was hilarious.
Oh yeah,
am I right?
Oh, absolutely, dude. There's so many, and like, you nailed it when you said from the moment they walk out the door. Because another thing, when I was training coaches, we'd be in the back of the van when they'd come out, because so often the way I approach it is, we know that this is going to be a new experience for this dog, right? So rather than having all this buildup, right? If someone has a reactive dog and they're like, hey, normally to introduce them to people, we do this little protocol at the door. And I'm like, hey, I'm just going to open up the van door and I want you to come out as if we've done it a million times before. We don't need this grand buildup. Like, get the dog in my office and we'll get to work, right? And from the moment that owner walks out the door, you are watching the dog, you are watching the owner, and you have an idea before the dog even gets to the door of the dog gym as to what it is you're going to be working with and what that session is going to look like, right? Because if you see how the owner handles the dog, if you see their body language, their habits, you see how the dog's responding and their behavior, like, they could send you a page full of notes leading into it. And they're like, oh, Charlie does this and he's scared of this and he doesn't like this and he doesn't like this. And it's like, okay, well, can he walk? Cool.
We just put him on the treadmill, because I imagine they probably come and they're like, see, I told you he's going to be barking at you. See, I knew he hated men with hats. Like, just put him on the treadmill.
Well, and that's exactly why I do it the way I do it, because that dog comes in the van and they're taking in so much that the guy in the hat is their last concern. And then they like look at me and they're like, well, I'm surprised she's not barking at you. And I was like, yeah, we didn't give her a chance. She just came in and we got to work.
These people, they become, not all, but like, I love this because you're like, it's triggering me back into my mobile grooming days. They become narrators of this dog's life.
Oh, and that dog.
Is it James Earl Jones? Is it that, like, you know, like James Earl Jones, like he narrates movies?
Yeah.
They're like narrating the dog's life, and like they're like wondering why they perpetuate. Buddy, stop! They're perpetuating the behavior of the dog.
Yeah,
and like, dude, just you had instructions. Just come out here, put the dog on the treadmill, let him run, and just watch the dog for 5 minutes without saying something. Just
and it's so interesting too, because like you said, they kind of have this narrative that they, you know, have kind of ingrained in their own brain as to who their dog is, why they behave a certain way. And then they just grow to like expect that. Like I had a client who she tried the dog gym and she was very like from the gate, like, I don't think she's going to do it. I don't think she's going to like it, but we'll see, whatever. And she got up, she got right down to it. And mom was like, you know what? I said the same thing about dock diving. And she went out and she had a blast. She's like, you know, maybe I need to stop saying that. And I was like, boom. And you came to that conclusion.
You're a reactive human.
Right? And you came to that conclusion on your own. I didn't have to tell you because, like, again, I'm just the long-haired idiot driving the Sprinter van, right? And so unless someone directly asks for my feedback, I might have an opinion, but I'm not going to provide it. And that's why, like, so many of our referrals come from vet offices and trainers, because when that owner hears from the vet that they see as like the highest knowing being when it comes to their dog's well-being, and their trainer who they've spent thousands of dollars working with, when they tell them, oh, hey, you should call Run Buddy, they're a lot more willing to pursue that than if the long-haired idiot says, hey, I've got this really great thing that your dog could benefit from. They're like, yeah, okay. And they have, I think the most frustrating thing is that projection onto their dog, and that, you know, like, we'll do an event and I'll be doing free demos and a dog will get on and the dog takes to it so quickly. And the owner immediately starts saying, oh, he's saying, get me off of this, mom. I hate this. Da, da, da. And I'm like, hey, drop it. He's doing great. Like, we don't need the narration of what's going on in his head. What's going on in his head is, what's going on here? He's problem solving. When I try something new for the first time, chances are I'm going to look like a bozo. I'm going to look like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to look like I'm having a ball. But once I work through that and I realize, oh, I'm capable of doing this, I'm going to have way more confidence in doing it. And I'm going to look better doing it, right? Like, I've had a handful of clients who are like personal trainers themselves. So another little story, dog named Apollo came to me. I don't say weight loss anymore. I say body condition transformation. and when I say that, people think they think it's me like tiptoeing around it. And I think there was a study from the like American Society of the Prevention of Pet Obesity or whatever, where it showed that like 70% of people didn't take it the wrong way if their vet said something about their dog's weight. So I think we kind of impose this idea that people are going to be sensitive when you bring up their dog's weight, when in reality, most people, like, if you're helping them, if you're telling them, hey, your dog is not going to live their happiest, healthiest, longest active life if you don't make changes. If they love their dog and truly care about their dog and want what's best for their dogs, they're going to make the necessary changes.
It's a good litmus test too, to see about this person. If they can't
absolutely,
because you could just point to it. There's nothing like, dude, your dog.
And I want to get I've been thinking of putting like a body condition scale in the dog gym so that we can look at it and say, hey, where do you think your dog falls on this? Because there are a lot of people who say like, oh yeah, unfortunately, someone will go to the vet, right? And they're going to the vet once, maybe twice a year with their dog. Say the dog's in relatively good health, no major medical concerns or ongoing things. And they take the dog to the vet and the dog's let's call it a large breed dog, and let's say they're 5 pounds overweight, right? Well, if the vet doesn't say anything about that dog being 5 pounds overweight, owner goes home thinking everything's fine and dandy. They don't make any changes to exercise. They don't make any changes to diet. And maybe they're giving more treats and bigger meals and less, whatever. And then fast forward another year. Well, now that dog is 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds overweight. Then the vet tells them the dog needs to lose weight. And now they're digging themselves out of a deeper hole that could have been avoided if we addressed that first 5 pounds, right? And the reason I say body condition transformation is because just like with people, if we get so focused on that number on the scale that all we're worried about is whether or not the dog is losing weight, that dog could work out twice a week for 5 weeks, and maybe that dog only loses a pound, and you're like, well, we've been doing this pretty intensely, and we only lost a pound. Like, oh, there's got to be a faster way. There's got to be an easier way. But that dog is moving better. They're better conditioned. They're, even if they are still carrying the same amount of weight, they're moving better with that weight.
Yeah.
We're taking that pressure off those front legs. We're engaging those back legs. And
it's not just about the number. It's also about how you get to that number. Is it mostly fat, or is there some muscle?
Right. And that overall body condition, we really need to
what
address
are you saying?
that.
You say it's no longer about weight loss. It's a body condition transformation.
Yeah. Yep. So taking like this dog Apollo, his first session, he's big, beefy, bully mix. I think he's like Pity Roddy. And his first session, he came in the van, was a little bit nervous, just taking the little step. It was quite a bit of work for him to get up. And he comes back through the chute between the mills. I get him up on the mill, and he just sits there. He parks it, right? And I tell people in the first session, I am not at all concerned with the dog's pace. I'm concerned with their body language. If that dog is comfortably sitting on the mill, we can build from there. It's a lot easier to build up from there than it is to take a dog who comes in level 12 stress, scrambling, turning around on the mill, whining, freaking out, trying to jump over the sides, and trying to reel that dog in. So the fact that the dog is comfortable and confident just sitting still, I'll take that, right? I'm not going to concern myself with, come on, buddy, let's get going. It's like, okay, we're here. I'm seeing what you're giving me. What's it going to take to get you to take a couple steps, right? So he ends up taking a few steps by the end, gets in this little rhythm, and he's got quite a bit of weight to lose. And I told Dad, like, hey, man, I could totally understand after this session thinking, like, am I going to spend $70 on that again? I don't know. I'm like, if we can do 3-4 sessions in a row, I'm not saying we're going to make him run, but we are going to make progress. And like, let's give it 3-4 sessions, right? And Dad's like, dude, I'm a personal trainer. I get it. Not everyone, finds their stride in the gym after their first session. Like, it's usually the most stressful session. So like, I get it. So the next week I come out, he comes in the van quicker. He gets up on the mill and he starts doing his little shuffle step that he ended with the first session. Dad had his camera rolling the entire 30 minutes. By the end of the session, the last like 15 seconds, he opened up to a full out sprint. And I mean, there are dogs I've worked with for over 5 years who never open up to like a full out sprint. It's always very calculated. And they might pick up the pace a little bit, but it's, maybe a fast trot, right? And he took off and he sprinted. He had about 15 seconds in the tank before he was
but that shows you who he really wants to be.
Right. And so often, especially with dogs who maybe need to lose even like 10, 15, 20 pounds, especially like labs. When someone recognizes that their lab needs to lose weight, you're like, oh, thank God. And that dog gets in here, and I'm never going to let a dog put themselves at risk or overexert themselves. But if that beefcake of a dog gets on there and finds their groove right away and they start sprinting, I want the owner to see that. I want them to see, hey, underneath this meat suit is a dog that wants to rip. Like in the house, maybe he's chill and lazy. Maybe he, doesn't do much, but it's because he's in pain. It's because he's depressed. It's because he's aging, and you're not giving him an opportunity to let that out. So instead he just settles. And so giving them the opportunity to see that dog rip and be like, hey, we got 2 options. Either we continue down the path we're currently on that led you to giving me a call in the first place, or we lean into this and we start making changes outside of the dog gym, because I'm just there 30 minutes to an hour a week, right? There's so much that goes on outside of the dog
What do
gym.
you recommend to them?
Again, if people ask for recommendations, if they say, hey, I'm looking to change food, what do you feed? What have you seen success with? I'll send them in different directions. And all my clients are coming from different places, right? There are some clients who, raw is completely out of the picture. And it's not because they don't want to or don't see the value in a raw diet, but maybe it just doesn't work with their budget, or it doesn't work with their lifestyle, whatever. Then I'm going to have a freeze dried option and a kibble option. And I'm never going to shame anyone for whatever it is they choose. And that's something going from the business side, with social media and different brand deals and things like that. Like, I'm never going to promote a product that I haven't seen the value of, whether it's with my dogs, with client dogs. But I'm also never going to pledge my allegiance to any one brand or type of product or school of thought, because I serve such a wide variety of clients. And I want to make sure that whatever works for them, they're pointed in the direction of the best available option. Or if they're coming to me looking for training advice, right? I just train dogs to go on treadmills, and based on that person and their preferences and what it is they're looking for, I can point them in the direction of a trainer that I know locally that I think, like, I've had a couple clients where I've introduced them to trainer friends of mine, and they've hit it off and they're thrilled with the results that they're seeing working with that trainer. Got a couple clients that have made dietary changes based on my recommendations.
So let's say you get the meat suit. That one got me.
Yeah.
Beneath this meat suit is a dog that wants to rip. That's a quote.
Yeah.
That's a quote.
Put it on a t-shirt.
You get this lab. Okay, like, I see what my dog wants to be. Do you put it on a long line? And you're in Austin. I mean, Austin has beautiful trails, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you recommend? Like, long line, go out in nature, just kind of let your dog move through life, and then we'll do the personal training in the van?
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend of mine who's a trainer who does a lot of focuses on like mobility exercises and things like that in addition to training. And he asked me one day, like, do you give your clients homework? And I was like, honestly, I don't, because they're just using me for my treadmills. But when it comes to different things, depending on the dog and the living situation and whatnot, like, that will kind of dictate what advice I give to them. Because you wouldn't believe the things that, being in the dog space, are maybe second nature to you, but have never crossed the mind of the average dog owner. Their algorithm isn't the same as yours. They're not being exposed to the same stuff.
Can you give some examples that come to mind there?
So I would say, like, when it comes to like enrichment activities and different like ways to work the dog's brain. Like, so for example, Charlie, that deaf Boston Terrier, mom had said that after his sessions, she's like, it's great that he's, crushing his sessions now, but I've noticed when we go inside, he can be a bit of a terror as he comes down, right? And I was like, well, is he crate trained? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, let's start implementing like a Kong or some sort of chew or something in the crate after his session, so that he has that time to decompress. And then by the time he works through all that, he has his come down from that huge endorphin rush. Then when he comes out, he's going to be a lot more, manageable baseline. And mom was like, oh yeah, that would work perfectly. Like, I wouldn't have known how he was after the session had she not communicated that to me. And she may have been like, well, can I keep doing Run Buddy if this is how he's going to keep acting? If I didn't provide an opportunity to avoid that result, right? Or a lot of just doing confidence building stuff outside of the dog gym, incorporating that on your regular walk. You see it, social media trainers putting out a bunch of content about getting up on different surfaces and just things like that, and hearing like session by session as we make progress in the dog gym, getting those updates from outside of the dog gym. Where I ran into one of my clients at a market one time. I never would have expected that dog to be at the mark. I was like, oh, that looks like Rune, this reactive dog that I work with. And then I looked to the other end of the leash and I was like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, oh my God, I had no idea it was actually him. And so being able to see that, like, because another like objection you get from people, right, is, oh, well, I already do A, B, and C with my dog. Like, clearly I don't need something like Run Buddy. And it's funny because it makes me wonder what people think my clients look like and how they think my clients act, because so many of my clients, their dog's schedule looks like they have a teenager at home, where it's like, oh, we've got this on Wednesday night, and then we've got this on Thursday night, and then, oh, we got to pack up the car all weekend because we've got a scent work event 4 hours away and we're camping. Like, these aren't people who don't exercise their dogs. These are people who recognize that their dog needs more than they're currently getting, and they want to provide that, right? And so, you know, ranging from dog sport people, the working dog community, trainers themselves who utilize us for their personal dogs and client dogs, you know, it's very interesting. I don't even know where we were at with that. I'm starting to talk in circles now.
I don't think so at all, man. This is so. I always ask before, like at the end of the episodes, I always ask the guests. I was like, you know, did you have fun, dude? The pleasure is all mine. I knew Run Buddy was great. I'm actually quite simple as a dog trainer. I think dogs need exercise in nature, where they get a chance to run off leash and be free.
Yeah,
whether that's with a pack of 20 dogs like I do now, or just you and the dog, just going out in nature off leash. You could put them on a long line and starting the day with that. I think it solves 80-90% of the problems. I think they need healthy food. The vet and kibble industry. I'm sorry about the vets, but I do come after them quite a bit. The vet, because you go into vets' offices, 95% of them have the science diet. And then you just flip that bag and you look at the ingredients and you're like, look at all these chemicals. Like, you say you love your dog. How do you feed your dog chemicals? So exercise, and I call fulfillment, enrichment. So exercise in nature where your dog gets to be a dog. You could use a long line. You could buy 100-foot line. So your dog will never run away. Food, healthy food. And then I think a dog needs sufficient rest. Yeah. I think that's missed. If you get those three things, I don't even know why you need a trainer.
Right. Well, and that's honestly, man, there are so many people who come to us that have spent thousands of dollars on different trainers. And my thing, zooming out, like, my thing is, it may not have been an issue with any one of those individual trainers or their modalities or their methodology, whatever. It may be an issue with the other end of the leash, right? Or maybe at that point in their life when they spent, 4 years ago, when they spent $5,000 on a trainer.
The philosophy that's on the other end of the leash. What the dog truly needs.
Right. And like the fact that people will pay money to work with the trainer, do nothing that the trainer told them to do, and then act as if the trainer was the reason they didn't have success. And then those people get their dog in the dog gym and realize, like, oh, wow, it had nothing to do with a lack of training. It's at the baseline. That dog was not in a position to be on their best behavior. Like you had said with the rest, like, that's a big part of the education on the first session is, this is just one 30-minute session each week, right? But dogs are creatures of habit, and they like routines, and they like, I think I saw, a lot of what you talk about is like, structure and things like that, right? And having, routines and whatnot. And these dogs, say the session is on Wednesday, right? You would expect, depending on what the dog does in that 30 minutes, right? You're going to expect that Thursday, Friday after the session, the dog's going to be a little bit tired, maybe like take a little bit of that edge off for a couple days. Well, then the weekend comes around, you do whatever your weekend activities are. Well, then Monday and Tuesday, that dog that was otherwise bothering mom and dad on their Zoom calls is now resting on Monday and Tuesday in preparation for Wednesday's session. And then you see it with dogs that do twice weekly sessions. Say that dog's running on Tuesday and Thursday. Gradually, that baseline, that pace, that, intensity of the session gradually kind of tapers a bit because the dog recognizes like, oh, I got to keep some in the tank for, like this is going to happen again. I can't go all out every single time I get on the treadmill. Like I got to pace myself, right? And so not only are those dogs resting in preparation for it, but afterwards, again, when they're resting and recovering, there's so much more going on. A healthy dog is going to sleep a bunch regardless, right? Most dogs are going to sleep a majority of the day, but what does that sleep look like?
Brandon,
Is the dog?
I love what you said about the decompress in the crate with the Kong after the session.
Well, and that's, I mean, I think one of the things, again, people see something at a glance and they don't fully understand it and they make assumptions. Like, I don't think people fully recognize how much we look at each dog on a case by case basis, and how intentional we are with everything we do with those dogs. Like Austin Pets Alive recently, they had a dog who has since been placed. He went up to, I believe, Pennsylvania. It was a dream come true that we found him the right owner. And he was true pity. When I first met him, he's this real chill, stoic dog out on the trail, doesn't bat an eye at anything, just real calm, cool, collected. The first time I met him, I was like, I don't trust you, dude. Like you're too calm. Like it's kind of eerie, right? And I got him up on the mill and he was slow to take to it. And I would like feel him looking at me. I'd be like, what is your deal, dude? Like, I don't know about this guy, right? 2-3 sessions in, the intensity picks up. He's going hard. And we started doing him in the dog gym with other dogs because he played well with other dogs. But once he got to that threshold, eyes would flip. No one's home. He's not there. There's no reasoning with this dog. And you see a true pit bull terrier come out. And he would get on the mill and sometimes he'd come in muzzled and I'd, get him going with a toy, but I was not going to tease this dog, frustrate this dog, and then send him back inside amped to the moon. Like, no, he's going to win. And so he gets that toy.
You're not going to get the toy back either. You don't have an out.
Yeah. And so he's, he gets that toy in the muzzle, whatever, and, play with him a little bit, let him thrash around a bit, whatever. And then eventually he gives it up, toy goes away. We do a little cool down. And so like each dog, it's not a one size fits all approach. Some dogs, I can't even take out a toy at any point, and I wouldn't take out a toy. Or people come in with like, they're like, oh, I brought his favorite treats. And I'm like, your dog is too nervous to take a treat right now. Like no amount of toys or treats is going to motivate that dog, but it doesn't mean that the dog is so scared and shut down they need to be removed from the equation. Like, no, let's work through this, let them self-regulate, let them realize that the thing that they assess as a threat, the big scary dog gym, like it's not a threat. We know that it's safe. Follow our lead, trust us. We're not going to do you wrong. But yeah, it's
so I want to jump in here real quick. And the last 30 minutes, I want to talk about the business side.
Yeah.
And kind of how you train other franchisees and help them get clients. Cause I think that would be beneficial for dog trainers, building their business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jay Jack at the seminar, he talked about game bred pitties.
Love Jay Jack, by the way.
He's
absolutely,
man.
Just incredible human.
So you would think that they would be intense the whole time, but he said that's not the case with these game bred pitties. They need to be stoic, exactly how calm. Like you said, why are you so calm? Because they're waiting for the fight for hours.
Yeah.
They can't explode in the kennel while they're waiting. They're not going to have any energy left. But once the fight goes, that's where you said there's no reasoning behind those eyes. So calm. But when the fight starts, I go to that place. So it got me thinking. Talk to me. Okay, so you had an amazing mentor. I'm assuming that happened just through the fact that you were bringing your dog to him and you started talking to David and he took a liking to you. And, dude, you're not an idiot. I love that. The idiot with a mustache. What do you call yourself?
This is the long-haired idiot in the sprinter van.
Dude, you're very cerebral. You're very thoughtful. You're great. I could see why you have great communication skills. And how did it go from I was bringing my dogs, David was running them in Phoenix, to I want to buy a van, to I start mentoring and training other franchisees or other members of the Run Mobile team?
Results don't lie, dude. Plain and simple. Like I said before, like there is nothing I've believed in my entire life as wholeheartedly as the work that we do. And so when I saw the results with my dogs, I'm gonna try not to. Had a dog named Honcho. Honcho is my best friend. Very special, just gargoyle of a bully mutt. And we lived an active lifestyle. The dogs were in good health. Honcho got cancer, and things happened really quickly. But all the while everything else in his body was failing and shutting down, like I would always say, like, if we could just get him a new set of lungs, like he'd be fine. Like the base that we had built with him in the dog gym with twice weekly sessions, it allowed him to have a physical base that was strong enough to get a little bit of extra time. I think there comes a point in every dog's life where all we wish we had was just a little more time. And it's not about the time, it's about the quality of that time that you have. I do not want to sit and watch my dog waste away for 4 years, even if it means 4 more years with them. That dog is so far removed from the dog that I fell in love with. And, it doesn't mean the dog's any less worthy of love. But it's heartbreaking to see a dog that is just alive and not thriving. And so, to answer your question, in seeing those results and seeing the difference in confidence and in just overall behavior and mobility, I was like, I need to do this. I want to provide this. And when David was looking to bring on a new coach, so a little background, if we want to just break for a second to go into that. So I always grew up as I was a dog kid, right? I knew every breed. Like million stuffed dogs, every dog movie. Like for my birthday, I would, have my family members buy a bunch of paper towel for me to take to the Humane Society. Then fast forward, I go to college and, I'm not going to work with dogs because vet school is just ridiculous. And I'm not a school person. But so during my freshman year at Auburn down in Alabama, one of the brothers in my fraternity got in some sort of trouble that required he go volunteer at the Humane Society. And I was a pledge who drove him there. And I started volunteering at the Humane Society. And I was like, oh,
what
I can scratch that itch. Yeah, I was like, oh, I can scratch this itch and whatever. And so started volunteering. That volunteer position turned into a role as a kennel tech. I was a kennel tech for a couple years before I transitioned.
You're pledging a fraternity. You grew up a dog kid. One of the brothers gets in trouble. He has to go volunteer at a Humane Society. You drive him, and a light bulb goes off. You're like, dude, you're in trouble. I would do this for free.
Yeah, this is where I'm meant to be, dude.
That's
and
amazing.
So
God works in mysterious ways. That's
right.
Amazing,
it's
man.
Absolutely nothing happens by mistake, man. It's crazy. And so I eventually became our rescue transport coordinator. So organizing, sending dogs off out of state. In that process, I realized that we as an organization were leaving money on the table. Side note, we're sending dogs off out of state to be adopted for $600-700 at these rescues because they're having to pay vet bills for other shelters that are sending dogs up. Well, we had the vet school who was handling all of our stuff. And so it wasn't costing us all of maybe $40 to send that dog off, but we were sending off highly adoptable dogs that would have otherwise gotten, $150 adoption fee. So I reached out to our partners and I was like, hey, we've been providing dogs for years now for you, and we appreciate your help. But like, is there any chance you would be willing to pay us the adoption fee in full for these dogs? Because you're then turning around and adopting them out for $800 and you're not having to pay us for vet care or anything? And they were like, oh, absolutely. And just like that, we went from getting, $40 per dog to, and it's not lining our pockets with that. We got dog food to get. We got resources that are hard to come by. And so that little bit of extra money, like, made a world of difference for us. And then I took
initiative too. You were like a young kid. You took initiative.
Yeah, it was like business student. Like, hey, what are we doing here? And then I took an internship at Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Kanab, Utah. Really eye-opening experience in my 4 months there. Got to bounce around Dogtown and work with puppies and mamas. Most of them coming off the res. Got to work with a couple of the Victory dogs from the Mike Vick case. Just a wide variety of dogs, and there's really not much else to do in Kanab, Utah, except for explore outdoors and go to the, sanctuary. So had my fun there, and then, went back to school, finished up, took a job in the super sexy world of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical sales. And I always joke that there's not enough wet noses and wiggling butts. And so when I saw the opportunity to jump ship from my job to help David with his mission to, help dogs live the happiest, healthiest, longest active lives imaginable, it was a no-brainer. And I thought it was going to be like a part-time thing for a little while I focused on like some real estate stuff. It quickly became my entire personality.
What do you think? What do you think David saw in you?
I mean, aside from being devilishly handsome, the enthusiasm, man. And he knew my experience working with dogs and everything. And, he saw how much, like how stoked I was to even be a part of it. And 1 second here, sorry, checking my battery. And he was like, yeah, dude, come on board. And then quickly I realized that this is going to be so much more than a part-time job to me. And, started training the new coaches and everything. And as it came time to eventually launch a franchise, it was like, all right, well, who better to do it than the person who lives and breathes this?
Walk me through what you said to those coaches.
Well, the first thing I would tell them is this isn't going to be like any other job you've ever had. It's going to be exciting, but it can also be exhausting. And it is more important for you to take care of yourself and communicate clearly when it is you need relief than it is for you to just show up. So I would try to make sure that everyone was comfortable communicating with David and his wife, Shawnee, so that every day our coaches were showing up as the best versions of themselves, so that the days are long, man. Like when I first started with Run Buddy, our first sessions were at 5 a.m. So that meant 3:30 wake up, go get the van, go. And I might not wrap up my day and get done cleaning the van until 9-10 p.m. I got to wake up and do it all over again the next day. And never have I ever hesitated to get out of bed to do it. I'm thrilled to shoot out of bed every morning. But I also understand that not everyone is going to come at it with the enthusiasm that I do. And to some people, it's just going to be a part-time job. And so if it is just a part-time job to you, like, I want you to enjoy showing up and doing it. I don't want you feeling overwhelmed or bogged down. And I also don't want you feeling uncomfortable speaking up for yourself and saying, hey, I'm burning out here. Can I, drop a shift here or whatever?
And, I had Chad Mackin on the show. He talked about how never train a dog when you're angry or you're not feeling emotionally right. Like, man, like you said, it's long days. And if someone's just not feeling emotionally there, it's better that they call out than they have to deal with that, because you're not going to have the patience. You're not going to have the calmness to talk to the clients, to work through that dog who doesn't want to do it, or that dog's jumping off the treadmill. And I even asked you about dogs pooping and peeing on treadmills, because that happens inevitably. It's just a part of the job, guys. But okay.
Yep.
So you said, guys, just communicate if you're not feeling good.
Yeah.
You start training these, what do you guys call them actually? The
canine fitness coaches.
Canine fitness coaches. Okay. What else? What are like the top 3 things that you say, like, this is what you need to focus on? Okay. You got your emotional stability in place. You come in with a good mindset.
Right. Meeting each dog where they're at, not thinking you're going to get a bunch of notes, you're going to get feedback from the owner leading up to the session. It's important that you stick to your guns, follow your training that you've, because our coaches are hands-on with consistent client dogs at first. We're getting them to the shelters. They're handling hundreds of dogs before they're out doing things on their own, right? So they're learning these things, they're learning to make these observations. And so it can be when it's just you and an owner in the van alone for the first time, like you might doubt yourself. You might stick to your guns. You know what you're doing. We hired you for a reason. And if you have questions, ask. And then a lot of it is just the hands-on, like, hey, watch this. And so often, because people will ask me all the time, oh, what do you do if a dog does this? Or how do you know when to do this? Honestly, so much of it is by feel.
Yeah.
So much of it is just, I'm pulling into a bank of things that have worked in the past with similar dogs, whatever. But like in that moment, it is me and that dog. And I can't listen to the narrative of the owner. I can't, because you're in my office. I'm the professional here. I know what I'm doing. And so just really trying my best to instill that confidence in the coaches, because inevitably you're going to have the husband who comes out and gives you pushback or is saying all these things, trying to kind of knock you down a little bit. But you're the professional. You're, just do what you know how to do what you've been taught.
Do you ever tell them, like, in those situations, tough dog, husband comes out, tries to knock you down, like, just give the dog back and just move on to the next one?
Oh, we do not need anyone's business that bad that any of our coaches need to be talked down to or belittled or disrespected in any way. So if you are put in a position where you are made to feel uncomfortable, handle it professionally.
Yep.
Handle it responsibly and courteously, but we have no problem never seeing that person again if they are going to.
Because if the vibe is off, it's not going to work.
Oh, yeah. And I've struggled, again, to not take that personally. And I'll find myself, I'll have a negative interaction and I'll go through the whole rest of my day and be like, this good thing happened, this good thing happened, this good thing happened. I try to weigh the good just as evenly as the bad.
One more time for people listening, for young trainers. I think Brandon says it because he's gone through it, but make them understand that your last private session, your last training session with that dog, your last meeting with the client, you can put that behind you and move on to the next one with a clear head. That is such a skill. You have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Can you share how important that is? Because you can't carry that through the day.
I mean, yeah, it's, again, at the end of the day, the results we deliver are undeniable. And if you are not doing work that you are that secure and confident in, that may be something that you need to address on a personal level. That's something that, you get a lot of people who the goal is to have the business and have the business be successful. So many people want to fast track that success, but there's no substitute for experience. So while it may, when you have the experience and everything, it can be a little bit easier to separate yourself from that and, recognize, okay, that's not me, on to the next one. If you don't have the experience, if you don't have that information and knowledge and experience to pull from, maybe you need to do more work. Maybe that person did poke a hole in something because you don't have this is more so for the training side of things.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a better way for you to do something, but you always have to be willing to learn, but you also have to recognize what feedback is worth cataloging and what feedback is okay, that's no different than a negative comment online. Okay, yeah, you're not going to win everybody over. Not everyone's going to be a fan of you, the work you do, how you communicate, your haircut. You never know what other people are going through, right? So it may not at all be a reflection of you, the work you did, whatever. It may just be a reflection that person's going through something, and it doesn't excuse being rude or being, cruel, but the same time, it's like, yeah, it would be crazy to think that every interaction you have with anyone, customer or otherwise, is going to be a positive one. So that translates in and outside of the dog gym. Like just being able to separate that, know your worth, know your value, and just
Brandon, I gotta imagine like the sell, or like you're putting out a listing on Indeed to hire fitness coaches, dog fitness coaches. I mean, I'm curious who applied. You know, is it young men, young women? Is it more adult? You'll tell me in a second, but it's such an awesome opportunity. You get to learn dog behavior, work with dogs, have customer service experience. It's a job that, like, I would picture a 23, 24-year-old athletic girl who loves dogs.
Yeah.
It would be a great starter job where not only do you get this really awesome base level of skills from a dog perspective, customer service, sales perspective, you could eventually turn this into your own business. You can work on commission. Your upside is unlimited. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that as I grow and expand, because people see the dog gym and they think it's just like a money printer. I can assure you that is far from the case. It is a very capital intensive business to operate, even just as a one-man show right now here in Austin. Like, you bring on coaches, you bring on more vans, you're dealing with more van expenses, you're dealing with payroll, you're dealing with all these other things, the maintenance that goes into the vans. And so over the years, most of our coaches come from a background ranging from like the world of like vet techs, where you have people that are passionate about animals, their hearts are in the right place, they have experience handling dogs that are maybe in a less than desirable emotional state, and they're working a job where they're usually the worst part of someone's week. Whereas in the dog gym, they are the highlight of someone's week. So to be able to take that person who may have experienced burnout or has been on the cusp of burning out and put them in an environment where they get to work with animals who are happy to see them. There's still challenges and things like that. It's not all smooth sailing, but it puts them in an environment where they can feel more relaxed and enjoy doing what it is they love doing. Same thing with people from a grooming background, or we had a woman who was a trainer herself, but was like, I just don't like operating my own training business. She's like, and I just need a part-time job right now. And so she came on board, and she's got incredible dog skills and everything. And she just had a set schedule, and she showed up and she worked it, and she didn't have to worry about all the other things that come with business ownership. And so she was able to take her skill set and apply it. And so as I look to expand, because like I said, a single van, not a cash cow, but if I can build a fleet of several dog gyms here in Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and I can just get a little bit from each of those vans, well, then I can pursue my dream with Run Buddy. I never want to be out of the dog gym, but in a perfect world, I would work a couple days a week where I go to the shelters, not just for 2 hours, but for 6 hours. And it's okay, bring me whatever adoptable dogs you want me to work with, and you can have the volunteers are awesome, man. Every organization I work with, there is a dedicated team of volunteers who come out every week. We've got a roster of Run Buddy dogs. They're tracking it on a spreadsheet. This dog did this many minutes. These were their hangups. These dogs can go together. Next week, we want to try this dog with another dog to see how they do. Let's try these. Like, it's so fun, so exciting. And so to be able to set that up to where it's like, hey, instead of coming for 2 hours, I'm coming for 6, 8 hours. And we're bringing adoptable dogs, and then maybe fosters can bring their dogs by the shelter and get them on the mill for free. Like, my goal is to build a machine that allows me to go out and do that, because that's truly what I think I was put on earth to do. There are a lot of ways out there to make a lot of money. I'm not interested in those things at this point in my life. I'm focused on helping as many dogs as possible. And the way to do that is to build this machine so that I can go out and do that dedicated work. So when
Brandon,
it comes to
what was the hardest part about getting your first clients in Austin?
I was very fortunate in that there's a good number of folks that have been following Run Buddy on social media for years and have just been waiting for the opportunity to have access to such a service. It was a lot of seeds that were planted prior to the dog gym even arriving. Being active on social media, engaging with local pet businesses, engaging with dogs' Instagram accounts, right? And just doing that, going out to community events, and just preaching the Run Buddy gospel so that by the time the van did arrive, there were a decent number of people who were like, hey, let's do it. And so as I continue to expand and grow and amplify our service area and bring on more partners and coaches and everything, the one thing from a business standpoint is just the efficiency of it and dialing in, okay, right now in Austin, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
And like different parts of the day, I'm in totally different parts of town. For future vans, we're dialing in a very tight service area, and we may have to take extra time to build a wait list there. And then from that wait list, we can then chip away at who's going to stick on the schedule. Because honestly, 50, 60, 70 clients on a weekly recurring basis is enough for an individual operating as an owner operator to make a living similar to, a grooming business. And there's always room for more, but in my experience, being able to reduce the amount of drive time, reducing the mileage put on the vans, tightening up that service area so that if somebody is booked on Tuesday, but Tuesday doesn't work for that week, if you're in that same general service area 5-6 days a week, makes it a lot easier for you to be available for that person to reschedule than if you are only in their area on Tuesdays. And so mapping that out and understanding like efficient routing and things like that so that everything down the line becomes significantly easier.
I'm sure you've thought about this. I can't think of any solution now, but let's say even you get one dog, and there's another dog that's in your client just a mile away, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to right now work them separately, right?
Yeah. So I do have, we call them Run Buddy block parties.
Okay.
So the way our pricing works, what was that?
No, I'm interested. Like, how would you be able to work them together if they're in close proximity?
So what we'll do is like, I have a client who utilizes me every other week, right? And she's like, hey, for budgeting reasons, I'm just going to do every other week. But if you have anyone that wants to split a session, because our pricing is the single dog rate, 2-dog rate, 3-dog rate, 4-dog rate. Well, that single dog rate is $70. The 2-dog rate is $85, right? So if you get two people who don't want to pay $70 per session and they book together, well, then they're paying 40 and some change versus, paying a full 70. So like that client, I coincidentally had a client just up the road who was in a similar situation. And I was like, hey, well, if Tuesdays at 11 work for y'all, we can meet at Tomlinson's, a local pet food store. And they were like, yeah, sure, perfect, let's do it. Or I've got a volunteer from Austin Pets Alive. She lives in an apartment complex downtown. And a lot of people seem to think like apartment complexes are like shooting fish in a barrel for us. They're not. It's often a different breed of dog owner, different priorities. I know plenty of people with high energy working breed dogs who their dogs thrive in, an apartment environment because they've got structure and routine and everything. Then there are a lot of people where they are a dog owner or a dog lover who they're in their apartment, they take their dog out for a potty break, they see the van, they turn their nose up at it. So like, we already walk for 30 minutes every day. I don't need something like that. And you're like, all right, dude, I'm not going to beg you to book. But luckily, this particular complex, there's a lot of dedicated dog moms and they have like this group chat. So they book me, every other week for an hour at my hourly rate. And then whether it's 5 dogs who show up or 7 dogs who show up or 8 dogs who show up, they just split that hourly rate per dog. And so they have access to
these moms.
They're awesome, dude. And like, it's so rad that people because I understand at a glance, mobile dog gym seems like a bougie luxury service. Like when I was back in Phoenix, I would be like at the gas station and someone would be like taking a picture of the van and I'd wave at them and they'd be like, huh, only in Scottsdale, huh? And I'm like, no, actually not only in Scottsdale. Like we serve a wide variety of clients all over town. And the thing they have in common is that they prioritize their dog's well-being. I know people with all the money in the world who have never booked a session with me. And it's not because they're not aware of the work that I do. I constantly hound them and say, hey, let's get your dog in the dog gym. And they never book. Meanwhile, there are people who will skip out on coffee for the week if it means they're able to get their dog in the dog gym. And I don't want anyone to not have access to the dog gym because of the price point. Our prices are not designed to help me buy a boat. They're designed to help keep the business afloat. It's not, like I said, it's not this cash cow. And so could we double our prices and only market to people who can afford twice the price? Yeah, sure. But that's going to alienate 75% of our most loyal clients who, it might be, I had a client who got a raise at work and was like, hey, I want to start booking with Run Buddy now that I got my raise. Like the first thing she thought of was, oh, now I can afford to get my dog in the dog gym. And I was like, that means so much to me. And like, it wasn't that she was like, hey, can I get a discount? Hey, can you cut the price? She's like, no, it's worth what I'm paying. It just doesn't work for my budget right now. And so being able
to people's houses too, right? Like
yeah,
you're going to their doorstep. It's a private trainer coming to your doorstep.
Right.
So like, have you guys ever thought about being like getting a retail space? I don't imagine.
Yeah, that's something that I will say. There is something about the Slat Mills being in the dog gym that, again, I couldn't explain it. It is a different experience than the Slat Mill in, a brick and mortar space. But that is certainly something that David has discussed when it comes to markets where like maybe navigating the Mercedes Sprinter around town isn't the most feasible. Like, could we take this and, implement it in like a brick and mortar type setup? And it's definitely something that could be done. But the dog gym experience and being in the confines of the dog gym, there's just we've taken the treadmills out and you do work outside and it's just a different experience. So definitely something
for the dogs.
For the dogs, yeah. Like
they David, like that confined space, right?
Yeah. So like, yeah, and like David, the owner of Run Buddy, he's got a chocolate lab named Soy Sauce. And hey, kiddo. And so Soy Sauce, we would work on the treadmill in the garage, and then we would be like, okay, let's bring Soy Sauce out to test it out, make sure everything's good. Soy Sauce would run past the treadmill, go into the van, stand in the spot where his treadmill was, and bark. And we're like, dude, get in the garage. And we get him in the garage, and he gets on the mill. And this dog who runs for 30 minutes straight in the dog gym on the mill gets on the mill in the garage and goes for 3 minutes, and then it's like, what's going on over here?
Is it because of the distractions?
Yeah, it's just you get in the dog gym and all of a sudden the world gets significantly smaller. You can still see out the windows and everything, which is super helpful for reactive dogs, right? If you've got bikes and strollers and dogs walking by, and same thing as having a dog in the dog gym with them, they're able to see that, have that reaction, work through it, and then boom, it's gone. And so being able to provide that to where they're not completely confined and it's tunnel vision, but provide enough confinement to where there's not a ridiculous amount of distraction.
I think groomers, the mobile groomers probably is like the closest that would agree that actually that van, that confined atmosphere for dogs that are typically aggressive or freaking out in the retail shop. My niche actually became when I had the mobile grooming van was doing or dealing with dogs that had bite histories or hated grooming or things like that, where they would come in the van. It would give them a lot more peace of mind. It was right outside their home. There was something that I understand what you're saying. It's hard to put like kind of your finger on it, but in the van, the dog feels much more at peace. Yeah. Before I let you go, I'd love to have a part two. Brandon, you're awesome.
Oh, dude, I got all afternoon, man. I'm not hurrying out of here, so don't you worry.
Talk to me. I guess the last thing I want to ask you. I wish you all the success in the world. I'm so proud of you guys.
I really appreciate that, dude.
Austin is a really cool market. A really cool market. You know what? What do you kind of wish for yourself the next year? What do you wish for Run Buddy in 2026?
Heck of a lot more dog gyms here. That's my goal right now. Is David went from one van and a concept that was not on anybody's radar to 5 vans in Phoenix in the span of 20 months. So going into it, my thought was like, well, damn, the quicker I can, scale and get more of these dog gyms going, like, I want to be neck and neck with David and his growth, because I've already got this established brand and people are now more aware of mobile dog gyms, as others have kind of come and gone over the last several years. But then when it came time to like hit the road and everything, I'm relieved that I am not 5 vans deep right now and juggling all of that, because I've been able to take a step back and focus on efficiency and strategize and figure out, okay, what can I learn from? Because the running of the dogs, that's, again, I was born to do that. That's the business ownership side of things, is the thing where I'm like, okay, what can I navigate to where I'm maybe, paying to have someone else handle the things so I can focus on making silly little TikToks and, focusing on running dogs. And so in the next year, I'd like to be able to take this plan that I've kind of been building and roll it into, the launch of another dog gym or two here in the Austin area, and then getting things going up in, the Dallas area and down in San Antonio and Houston, at least getting 1 van in each of those markets. And I think right now I've got a pretty established and like solid plan as to how to go about doing that. That looks wildly different than what that plan looked like a year ago. But yeah, I'd like to get to that point where I can not have to worry about being in the van on the road all day, every day myself. Because as much as I do enjoy it, it's taxing on other aspects outside of the dog gym. Like, we've got 4 dogs at home right now. We've got a foster we've had for over a year now, and then 3 of our dogs that are, technically they're all seniors at this point. And so being able to like not leave the house at 5 a.m. and get home at 8 p.m., the sooner I can get to that point and I can be here with my dogs and take some of the load off of, my girlfriend's shoulders, as far as just, she's home all day with the dogs and taking care of stuff while she's working. And she's been so supportive.
And I imagine doesn't leave a ton of time for you to work on the business as well.
Yeah, and like, even when, like, this morning, for example, like Sundays are a day where I'm not typically out running dogs, but it's where I'm doing deep cleans of the vans, I'm doing maintenance, I'm changing bearings, taking belts off, whatever. And like this morning I was editing this video and I felt bad sitting and editing the video, and I was like, oh, there's so many things I could be doing. I'm like, but if I'm not doing those things, the video never gets done.
Right.
And so maybe I go do those things, but then the video doesn't get done, and then I'm kicking myself for not doing the video. And so I had to like just, my ADHD brain is every, a million miles an hour every direction.
It's anyone who's a dog trainer running a solo dog training business knows this. Like, it's like that game at the arcade where the little frog pops up and you're
yep.
I'm curious, what's the build out cost for a van? And are you guys corporate, like in the sense where you'll provide that, but there's a royalty back? Is it a franchise model when you're looking for someone in Dallas?
Yeah. So the model as it stands right now is a franchise model. So, there's a percentage of royalties every month and a franchise fee. I'm in a bit of a unique situation because I had all of the training when it comes to operating in the dog gym. So that wasn't really relevant to me in my experience going out and launching it. But David and Shawnee have built out Run Buddy University, which is where they do all the training. And we're kind of throttling back right now on the franchise side of things now that we're a year in with this, and we're like, okay, what does the future look like? How are we going to go about, educating and whatnot? The van startup for me was about $80,000. Vans financed. The treadmills, the Run Buddy treadmills are significantly more expensive than any treadmill you're going to find out on the market. But they're also comically overbuilt. And I think a lot of people see the work that we do at Run Buddy, and we've seen it over the years. They see the work we do. We make it look really easy. But a lot of people that maybe are in a position to buy a treadmill, buy some treadmills and buy a van aren't necessarily prepared to even run dogs.
Sure.
And so it's easy to put the cart before the horse there. And unfortunately, you see people spend a bunch of money on something, not have their heart's in the right place. You know, they want to provide the value that we provide, but they don't realize how much goes into actually not just providing that value and doing the work that warrants charging people. Because you see it with dog trainers. You know, just because you've trained your personal dog doesn't mean you should necessarily be out taking money from people for a board and train.
So they're learning on the job when they have all this overhead dragging them down. I do want to say one thing, guys. The biggest difference with mobile to, like, let's say you like want to rent retail space is you own the van.
Yeah.
And there's I'm not going to go into detail, but there's like really awesome tax benefits of depreciating income of a van over the first year, where it is helpful. Like, so it is, there is a lot of value in starting this business. Cause yes, there is a little bit of an overhead to start things up, but you own the van and you own the treadmills. And then what was cool when I ran my grooming business and I felt it was time to get out of it. And I think I'm going to make a video about this on YouTube as to how, like, when you're too general and you do pet sitting and mobile grooming and dog training and private lessons, you're not known for anything. So being really specific in what you're known for will help a lot of dog trainers. I'll make that video on a different date. But when I was ready to get out of my mobile grooming business, I spent $100K on the mobile grooming van. It was financed. So it was like monthly payment. I think it was like $1,500. But I sold the van after using it for 2 years. I bought it for 107 and I sold it for 89.
Yeah.
So, like, if you actually think about that, that's an $18K difference over 2 years. I paid $1,000 a month to use that van, even less.
Yeah.
So when you own the asset, it's hugely different than when you're renting retail space across the street. Right. You don't own that asset. You're throwing that money away. So there are some benefits. It is still a challenging business to run. Like, any advice to young trainers? You know, anything that, like, you would say, guys, you know, you have a training business. I have a mobile gym, but these are things I've learned just from a business aspect that, you know, and you're 30 years old, man. You're young. Yeah. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. Yeah. You're a business person, Brandon. Yeah. What advice would you have for
know who you, it's going to sound corny, like, know who you are and be able to distinguish between who you are and what you know. And what I mean by that is, don't allow your identity to be, especially as a trainer, to be tied up in your whatever camp you fall in. You could work under a mentor for years and love and adore that mentor. And if somebody says something contrary to what that mentor may have taught you, it's easy to get defensive and it's easy to and have it be like us versus them. Be open to learning new things. And learning new things doesn't mean you have to necessarily go out and apply those things, but you can then have a better understanding of how other people operate. And it doesn't matter if you and another person don't see eye to eye on things. What matters is how you navigate disagreeing with someone or having a difference in opinion. Because I see a lot of people, they start focusing their effort on the wrong things. And you see people on social media where all they're doing is not going out and doing the work. They're going out and, like, talking down people that are doing the work differently. And I get it with social media. It's a game. And I think it's important to understand what your goal is in playing the game. I posted the other day, where I said, I've done a lot of ridiculous stuff on the internet for the sake of my business and building awareness and getting eyeballs. The one thing I'll never do is like reaction content where I'm giving my 2 cents on someone else's work. I'll think that, I'll see it, I'll maybe disagree, whatever, but I'm not going to go out and, get views by talking down on someone's school of thought or whatever. Like, that's not the game I want to play. And if I don't get as much engagement as I think I deserve by posting 5-minute videos of transitions for shelter dogs, well, then, okay, fine. I can find some other way to get that attention, but I'm not going to go a route that isn't at all focused on the nature of the work that I do. Like, everything's going to focus on Run Buddy, what we do, how we do things, not on how other people are doing things, why they're bad, why they're wrong. Just stick to who you are and don't allow, what you've learned to be a part of your identity, because you're always going to learn and grow and develop, and you have a choice to change and adapt and whatever, or continue doing what you're doing. But at least you've been exposed to other schools of thought. And so, yeah, just
I love that, dude.
Don't get too emotional about it.
You said something there. I mean, you said a lot of great points, but one thing you said was just the concept of getting awareness and getting attention, and the way that social media incentivizes people to get attention is through reaction videos or videos that sort of talk down upon.
Yeah, like that combative energy.
Yeah. But I really want people to stop and think about this. And I'm going to get my team to clip this and just really think about this. If you're starting a business, your goal isn't just blanket general awareness. Right. So many people just post content for general awareness where they're not thinking through, who is my customer?
Right.
What is my customer in need of? And how do I create content to attract that customer, fill my book of business, and eventually raise prices or add services so that my business grows? My awareness should lead to business growth.
Right.
So what they do is they pump out awareness. They feel like they're doing something, and then inevitably, like, the moment comes where they're like, this awareness has not led me to make more money.
Right.
And social media has this really funny game of, like, we get this dopamine hit, like kind of like a slot machine of like, wow, that video did really well.
I'm a fiend for it, dude. It's so unhealthy.
But the goal isn't more awareness. The goal is more business.
Right. And exactly.
If you're running a dog service business, dog training, grooming, whatever, you got to keep that in mind. Don't get stuck playing this losing game. Think, what do my customers need? How do I provide that solution for them? And how do I package it so that they know I am the person in my area or online, wherever, that provides that solution? And
that takes time too. Like, that's a big thing with social media is you are going, one of the things I struggled with the most is I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and I don't want to annoy people with the same thing over and over again. But as your audience grows and as people share your content and everything, one, the people who come on board, chances are they're going to need to hear those things over and over again before it registers. But also, somebody new coming across your page may not dig back and find the last time you posted something like that. And so if you post it and you're saying the same thing you said 5 minutes ago, yeah, you said it already, but it might not have gotten in front of the same eyeballs as that next video. So you're going to feel like, oh, what the hell is this all for? But you're not going to see results if you don't see it through and like remain consistent. And that's the hardest part.
And my virtual mentor, he said this, it's, building a brand is not about saying new things to the same people. It's about saying the same thing to new people.
Yes.
And here's the thing with social media. You have to say the same thing 10 times even to your current audience.
Right.
Because no one's watching everything. And even if they are, they're watching 20 other things. So they might remember one. There's a study on now you have to say the same thing 11 times before you feel familiar to your audience. 11 times they have to watch you. 11. So really think about that. You don't need new ideas. You need to articulate your ideas so clearly, so consistently, and stay out of the noise. I love that we ended with this, Brendan. That was such good advice.
Yeah.
Dude, Austin, I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, man. It's great here.
How long have you been there?
2 years now.
2 years. Do you love it?
Absolutely love it, man. It's just the community. It's a different community than we had back in Phoenix. There's a lot of overlap, but like it's a really cool community in that people who, and it's not 100%. It's certainly not 100%, but when people have a better understanding of taking care of their own physical and mental well-being, it's a lot easier to get them to understand that for their dogs. You know, you get people who take their dog for a bike ride and it's like, well, is that bike ride the only exercise you're getting? Chances are it's not. And you know that you're going and taking your dog for a bike ride for your dog, but then you're taking yourself to the gym, or you're going to therapy, or you're meditating, or you're hitting the cold plunge or whatever. Like, so if that's the case for you, then does it make sense that your animal in your home is only going to get that one outlet, that's going to be the only way they get fulfillment and expression and things like that? Like, no, Run Buddy is not the end all be all for your dog's exercise. And we've never marketed ourselves as never walk your dog again, thanks to Run Buddy Mobile. We're not replacing walks today. We're ensuring that whatever it is your dog loves doing outside of the dog gym, we want to put them in a position to do that well into their senior years. And so by being able to be in a community of people who understand, oh, if you don't use it, you lose it. No, we only get so much time with our dogs. Those people are a lot more receptive to, you know, the information that I put out. No, one little side note, because you had mentioned, you know, kind of like niching yourself down a little bit. I had always shied away from talking about like Run Buddy for weight loss because I didn't want it to be the thing that is for weight loss. I didn't want people thinking, oh, well, my dog doesn't need to lose weight, I don't need Run Buddy. But then I realized how many people's dogs do need to lose weight, and they've tried everything and it hasn't worked. And so if I can serve that segment, there's more than enough business there. But also, like, I recently transitioned to a wait list, a Google form, kind of on the business side. So rather than getting people to submit to our website where maybe they give a phone number and no other information, and then I'm having to reach out and follow up and be like, hey, you reach out to me, I'm trying to contact you. Like, I'm able to build a wait list. And with that wait list, there's a few additional details that are required. Like, what kind of routine are you looking for? What issues are you encountering? Are you looking for a consistent schedule, or are you looking for a one-off session? Because then that makes my life a lot easier, because I can then look at that list and say, okay, I've got this recurring slot that just opened up because a client of mine is going out of town for a couple months. Am I going to do a bunch of one-off sessions for people that are like, oh, I just wanted to get a video of my dog on the treadmill? Or am I going to offer that spot to someone who's like, hey, my trainer sent me your way and we have a reactive dog and here's what we're looking for and we're ready? Because then I'm getting more qualified leads to get in the dog gym, and I can understand our starting point before I even show up, versus getting a little bit of general information, showing up, giving them all the razzle dazzle, only for them to say like, okay, that was fun, and then never hear from them again.
Can I give one more? This could be to everyone.
Yeah.
I made a video on this, but this was, I'm so proud of myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Dude, even when I was doing well, I never shied away from doing free stuff.
Yeah.
Even if free things took time.
Yeah.
So, look, if you think about it, you mentioned this a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized that 35 to 55, 35 to 60-year-old moms were my demo.
Oh, yeah.
They have kids. They run the household budget. They're out grocery shopping. They still want to spend some time with their friends. They're doing Pilates. They're going Orange Theory. They're busy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was like, okay, that's my demo. I love serving that demo, actually. They're awesome.
Oh, they're fantastic. That's one of my pin posts is busy moms in the Austin area. I feel you.
They created a WhatsApp group and they're like, well, anyway, for you. It's okay. So I was like, where do they hang out? Well, they're at Pilates, they're at yoga, they're at Orange Theory. All right. So I'm running ads, I'm running ads on Facebook, Instagram. Those are converting okay. I'm doing Google local services ads. Okay, those are doing well. I'm doing content, but you pay people to do content or you pay yourself. All right, these are the ways that I have lead gen. What if I create a flyer? I reach out to local businesses and I say, hey, Jet Set Pilates, or hey, Orange Theory, I'm a 5-star rated dog training, dog exercise, dog boarding, dog daycare, dog school facility. A lot of your customers already come to me, but I wanted to do something that, has worked really well. And here's what I've done. I've printed out a flyer and it's eligible for one free grooming session, one free day session. I've done it with a few studios nearby, but no one in your general area. And I could bring that to you, and which of your clients have dogs, and you could hand them out as you want. You could put them in the new member pamphlet packets. You could, give it to Susie who has a doodle. No strings attached. If they don't love it, they don't have to do anything. So it's eligible for one free groom or one free training session, right? Yeah. Which I estimated I have to pay my groomer about $40 per groom, $45 per groom. It's typically 40, 50%. And myself, it's just time. And 8 out of 10 studios said yes. So I printed out those flyers, paid $200, came in, shook some hands. Now, yes, I give away a free groom and I have to take my van there. It costs money, but marketing costs money. But I get a qualified lead. And if my service is good,
right,
I retain that lead. So my urge for people just starting out, just building and I get experience.
Yeah.
And people see my van driving around. And momentum. So I can go on and on about all this stuff. But dude, just that one little kind of like movement in the right direction, even though it was free, and people hate doing free. I don't understand the concept of why people hate doing free, but free has netted me basically all of my clients. And I love free. And I always say, because people ask me for discounts. I said, look, I'll do free or full price. And I still do free now. So if you want to come by, you're having trouble with your dog and the budget doesn't work for you, just come by for free. We don't need to negotiate. Right. I'll do it for free. Or I'll do it for full price. So and that's a little hack there for you guys.
Yeah. And especially, once you get those folks, like my thing, same thing. It's like, I'm not going to do a discount for a new client, but I will reward loyalty. And so if a client, like I've got clients who buy just runs on a 10-pack, right? And they're like, oh, let me know when we're low, whatever. That way we're not having to charge every run, whatever. And I'll run them 2-dog rate, 2-dog rate. And then on that third 10-pack, 1-dog rate. And they're like, Brandon, you only charge me for 1 dog. And I was like, yeah, but you've been consistent. Yep. I want to reward that because other people come to you and they say, oh yeah, can I get a discount? And I'm like, well, I know my work is worth what I charge. It's not some inflated rate that you see it with dog food companies and stuff where it's like, oh, get 75% off your first 3 orders. And it's like, oh, well, if that makes sense, then maybe it's overpriced by 75%.
Great point.
And so I know the value I'm providing. And so if we come out, or same thing with collaborations on social media where it's like, hey, I don't want you to share my stuff. I want you to get value out of it. So if after 10 sessions, you don't see any value in it, well, good thing you didn't post to your followers because it's not worth it. And you've recognized at that point that paying full price was in fact worth it. And you're going to see my service as being worth that, where maybe at first, had I given you 50% off, you would have been like, oh, well, it's worth it for 50% off, but I'd never pay full price for it. And so, it's a tough space to navigate. But you got to take chances. You got to try different things. Some lessons you learn the hard way, like, oh yeah, it wasn't worth going that route. And, it wasn't a waste. It was a lesson. And now I don't do that anymore.
Doggy Stoic. I knew Brandon was going to be awesome. Run Buddy Mobile
so much,
in general. Man. Run Buddy Austin is Brandon's page. Go follow him. Go show him some love. Thank you, guys. We'll be back with another one.
Thanks, dude.